Hello dear students, welcome again to Chinmoyee's YouTube channel. So yesterday I have already taught you a part of health and hygiene. So today we will be discussing about health and hygiene part 2. So in yesterday's topic I think you have already gone through it. It was very basic things. So we have discussed only about what is health, what are the definitions which World Health Organization have given you, what is hygiene, how to maintain our daily hygiene, how to keep ourselves clean. So that is a quick overview of the things, and I told you two types of diseases and just a sum up of communicable diseases and how they are caused by pathogens. So today what we are going to do, let us start with today's lesson. But before that, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like and share it so that your friends can also get benefited from my lessons. Now let us start with today's episode. Now, first, what are the learning objectives of today's lesson? First, we will discuss about how are diseases caused, what are the patterns of occurrence of a disease, how do pathogens cause a disease, what is the mode of spread of infectious disease, and how does it get transmitted from one person to another, either through direct transmission or through indirect transmission. Now today we will be focusing till direct transmission. Indirect transmission, if we are taking today, it will be a bit long video, so I don't want to teach this today. Again tomorrow we will come back with the indirect transmission part. So let us start with how are diseases caused. Now, what is a communicable disease? Diseases which are infectious or they are transmissible, that is, which are spreading from one person to another. Now, how they are being caused? They are caused by pathogens. I think I have told you yesterday and you still now remember. So, what is a pathogen? Now, according to the Greek term, pathos is a disease and gen is to produce or producing. So pathogens are all living organisms like virus, fungi, bacteria, protozoan and worms, which are all causing diseases. So yesterday I gave you a chart, I think you remember that. Please refer to yesterday's slide and check that chart where I have given that what are the diseases caused by bacteria like tuberculosis, cholera, etc. Diseases caused by virus, polio, chickenpox, measles, common cold, AIDS, and now we have added on to it that COVID-19 virus is there. Now everywhere, every news channel, every newspaper, every video we can see that COVID-19 is there. Now next comes the fungi causing ringworm and athlete's foot, and others are protozoa, worms, etc. So these are all pathogenic microorganisms which are causing diseases are called germs. So is it clear to everyone? Diseases which are transmitted from one person to another are called communicable diseases. Now these are carried through several agents. So what are those agents? Either they are carried through air, or they are carried through water, or they are carried through food and insects. So they are caused by pathogens, and pathogenic microorganisms are called germs. Now let us move on to the next one. Now first we need to check what are the patterns of occurrence of a disease. Now first we will say that we are very much acquainted with this term nowadays, this pandemic. So we all know this pandemic. What does this term mean? That if a disease occurs on a global scale, that is throughout the world, it is happening. So it is called pandemic and it spreads across the world. It is called pandemic. So the influenza pandemic happened in 1918, 1918, and almost 20 million deaths it caused around the world. And then next pandemic was AIDS. And now currently we are going through a pandemic that is COVID-19. It has also caused millions and millions of deaths. We have got some vaccine, some preventive measure, but still now it is not under control and it is a pandemic situation. Now let us see what are the other patterns of the disease. Now what is endemic? Now endemic is what? It is a disease which occurs in a specific area. Suppose a colony. A few number of people in a colony are affected by this disease, and it is not being carried to different regions or different places. So we can give an example like in Africa. At yellow fever in few African countries, we have seen yellow fever. So, but yellow fever is not seen throughout the world. Neither it is seen throughout the like global. It's not a global thing. It's a thing which is happening in African countries. Now, in Africa, measles also started as an endemic. Now, where Africa, when they had this endemic disease, in one way it is always present in population in some or the other, but it never got spread in this huge way that from one person to another, through air, through water. It's not like that, right? It's a different kind of pattern of occurrence of the disease. Now, next to it, we will move on to epidemic. So, what is this epidemic? So, epidemic is an outbreak of a disease which spreads very rapidly from one place to another. It affects a huge population, and it's it is not globally, but if I say that one part of the country is affected by this disease, then it will fastly spread from one part to another. Like in India, we had plague epidemic by the infected rats in 1994. Now, if you go through several data, you will see that it was an epidemic form. Now, this we have discussed earlier, pandemic, and with this only we are dealing. Now, it is very difficult for everyone to deal with such endemic, epidemic, as well as pandemic and sporadic situations. But this one is very difficult because globally you have to check the spread of the disease globally. So, it is pandemic. Now, next comes sporadic. So, what is it? It is when there are scattered individual cases of a disease. Now, we can say that few malaria. Few people are affected in malaria in one part of Bihar. Then after a few weeks, we see that malaria is being transferred to Orissa. Now, like that, in some parts of Karnataka, if we see cholera, then after a few weeks, we get to see that in Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and all, there are cholera cases. So, this is called sporadic spread of diseases. Is it clear to everyone? So, 4 types of patterns of occurrence of a disease: endemic, epidemic, pandemic, and sporadic. Now, let us see what is there in the next slide. Now, how do pathogens cause disease? Now, body tissues and systems can be damaged by pathogens. So, I have discussed earlier that pathogens are germs and how they are causing infection. Now, first of all, might be at times they are causing true infection. So, what is true infection? True infection is the pathogen is entering the body and the pathogen is developing a mechanism by which it is it is adhering to the cells of the body of the host and harming the cells. So, this is true infection. It is adhering to the cells, it is harming the host, it is harming the cells. So, this is called the true infection. So, this is true infection. Now, what is happening? Second is releasing of the toxins. So, releasing of the toxins is some pathogens, they enter the body, they release certain toxins or chemicals, and which causes the host body sick. Like at times someone is having fever, vomiting, headache. It is not exactly working or destroying a system. It is just releasing some toxic products or toxins which is being we can say that it is these toxins can cause you sick by fever, vomiting, headache, etc. Now, what are secondary infections? Certain parasitic worms. So, this is secondary infections. Certain parasitic worms are there which come to the host body and they cause damage to the tissue. These wounds, they actually become infected with germs and these are called secondary infections. Now, this is how three types of how the pathogens are causing diseases in three ways. First, through true infections. Second, by releasing toxins. And third, by secondary infections. Now, here we should keep in mind about every time we are telling that a person who is having quarantine should be kept in quarantine of COVID-19 should be kept 1 to 15 days in quarantine. So why this 15 days and why this 15-20 days they should be kept separate? Is there any special cause? Yes, surely. Each and every virus is having a incubation period of time. So let us come to know what is incubation period of time. So this is incubation period, what is it? It is the interval between the entry of pathogens as and when the virus, the bacteria, the fungi or the other germs or pathogens when they enter the body and when the first symptoms appear. So this is the incubation period. So now for COVID-19, we are telling between 1 to 7 days, a person when it enters to your body, it is entering the body, it is entering the host's body, it is adhering to the cells, causing harm to certain cells, lungs and all. For COVID-19, it is mainly causing harm to our lungs. So after 7 days, a person starts having fever, cough and cold and flu-like symptoms. So this incubation period varies from one person to another. And might be in some few persons, those who are having weak immune system, initially they 1 to 3 days they'll be having this initial symptoms, then it will become severe. And these incubation period vary from one virus to the other one. So suppose here I have written here 1 to 3 days for flu virus, normal influenza or flu, for 2 weeks in chickenpox virus, and for many years for AIDS virus. So after many years, a person will be knowing that he or she is infected by AIDS virus. So is it clear to everyone? I think I am trying to make each and every point clear, and it is such a topic I have chosen because it is very much relevant to today's scenario, and it will be very clear for you whenever you are going through the news channels, whenever you are seeing the reports, whenever doctors are speaking. So it will be very clear for you to understand what is happening, each and everything what is happening. So I think it is very clear for you people to understand what is happening. So now we will move on to the next slide. Now here we will first discuss about the mode of spread of infection of infectious disease. Now we have in the learning objectives, I think you still now remember that I have spoken about two types of transmission. First is direct one and second is indirect one. Today we will be discussing only about the direct mode. So how direct transmission happens? First of all, direct contact between the infected person or the healthy person. So how a direct contact happens? If you are sitting in close affinity with a person who is having the infectious diseases like smallpox, chickenpox, and syphilis, gonorrhea, which all are spreading through direct contact. Now, syphilis and AIDS are mostly transmitted through sexual act, and smallpox, chickenpox, they all are transmitted through direct contact. Means if you are using the infected person's clothes, infected person's food, water, and whatever things he or she is using who is infected through this type of disease, then it will be transmitted directly from one person to another. Now let us see what are the other types of direct transmission. Now here comes droplet infection. Now every now and then nowadays we are going through this term droplet infection. COVID-19 is a droplet infection causing disease. It is caused by droplet infection. What is that droplet infection? Now whenever a person who is infected, he or she is sneezing or coughing, small droplets, they come out from the mouth or nose. Now if someone is standing here, now if we see that if someone is standing nearby, who is not infected, who is a I can say who is an individual who is healthy. So this small droplets will come and sit or get deposited on the healthy person. So instead of falling on the ground, if we are keeping a distance of, we are telling that we should keep a distance of 6 feet. So if we are keeping a distance of 6 feet here, we can say we are safe. So here is the safe distance. This distance, if a healthy person is standing, he or she is not safe. So the droplets will come and get deposited on his or her body, and might be on my eyes, on my nose, on my mask. And if I am not wearing any mask, the droplets might enter my nose or my mouth, and my mucous membrane will have those viruses, COVID-19 viruses. So this is how every now and then we are seeing in news channels, they are telling that keep a distance, safe distance, social distancing is required. As it is a droplet infection, it is transmitted from one person to another through droplet. Now, not only COVID-19, there are several other things like we can say influenza, pneumonia, normal cough and cold, mumps, tuberculosis. These all are caused by droplet infections from a nearby infected person to a healthy person through sneezing and coughing. Is it clear to everyone? Now, this droplet infection thing is very much relevant, very much important right now. So, if there is some infected person around you, please do wear 2 masks, try to wear a face shield, try to cover yourself with certain clothes which you can go home or you can wash or you can discard those, like doctors and nurses, they are using PPE kit. So there are several things we can do to prevent ourselves from different type of modes of transmission. Now this is what we are going through nowadays. Now droplet infection is a term which you should know. So this is how they are transmitted from one person to another. I think it is clear, and so we should avoid overcrowded surroundings, no meetings, no parties and all. We should try to stay at a safer distance from a person. I don't know whether he is a healthy person or whether he is carrying a virus, and we should not stay in poorly ventilated house. So it should have enough doors and windows so that the air keeps on circulating. If there are any droplets in the air, that will be carried on through the wind. So this should happen. Now let us move on to the last slide. Now this is I can tell you the transmission of diseases. First, we have told you that the transmission of diseases is transmitted from one person to another through direct contact, then by air or through droplets. The indirect contact, we can say that if he is drinking a water infected person and that water is being taken by a healthy person, he or she will get infected. Now wearing the clothes. Now food also is a matter of indirect. By food also we can get it, because food, if he is taking a bite of cake and that cake only this person is taking, he will get infected. Now this is we will study this tomorrow, because this is a different part where we will be discussing about indirect transmission, that is by vectors. So these are all vectors causing diseases. This we will discuss tomorrow, that is through mosquitoes, flies, etc. These are also through animals. A few animals also carry few diseases from one person to another through feces, through their excretory parts and all. So we will be discussing this tomorrow. So as of for today, we will try to end our today's lesson here, because it has already become a little bit lengthy. So please go through it. Any doubts, any queries, please post it in my comment box, and don't forget to like and share my channel. So again, meet you tomorrow or day after tomorrow with a new lesson, and that lesson will be the indirect transmission of the diseases through vectors, or called disease carriers. So thank you for today.